Welcome to Echoes Down the Road, a podcast presented by the band West of House. My name is Lance, and today we bring you episode 9, where we will be breaking down the song Fallen from our debut album Crescendo of Silence. So join me, Eric, Kevin, Tommy via satellite, and a returning special guest as we unpackage the song that started it all.
Welcome back to Echoes Down the Road. We are West of House, and we have a special guest in the studio today that we will get to. But in the meantime, my name is Eric.
And I am Lance.
I'm Kevin.
And who is there, lurking in the depths of Wyoming? Could it be?
I'm back. It's Bobby.
Bobby Phillipps, back-to-back episodes, fresh off Turn of Phrase, which turned out really well, man. We were really happy to have you on that one.
That was fun, man. I'm glad to be back, too. I'm here for comic relief and good company. So
hey,
Absolutely.
That'll work. You haven't been fired yet. Tommy's not here, so I guess he has been fired.
That's the current rumor.
The rumor is that Tommy has been fired and he has been replaced by Mr. 808. So nothing but Kanye
soul.
beats on the next album.
You just gut punched him right there.
But let's get it started like we always do. Hey, Lance, what you drinking there?
Well, it is early today on this fine president morning, and this is known as dihydrogen oxide, which for the non-chemistry dorks out there, that's just plain water.
Way to go Breaking Bad on everyone.
Yeah, I try. And Eric, what are you drinking over there, my friend?
Well, as we've alluded to, with the time of day that it is, it's, 11:04 a.m. here on the West Coast. I'm back to my nice, super pure black coffee that I am apt to do on these AM shows.
Straight
It
black.
is not even Irish, just straight black. Kevin,
hello.
I actually
you drinking
just,
the tears of...
I sadly ran out of coffee yesterday, and we're
yesterday?
snowed in, so I haven't been able to go out. So
I can hear that in your voice, Kevin. You seem a little down, my friend.
I have some caffeine-free herbal tea that I've been sipping on.
Tommy would be proud.
That's true.
Are you in the polar?
milk.
Are you in the polar vortex right now?
Yeah, it's supposed to thaw today, so.
And Bobby, you're in Wyoming, so I'm guessing it's a high of 65 and sunny.
no, I think I've got 17 degrees right now.
Good Lord.
Oh, it was minus 19 yesterday, man.
Ouch.
Yeah.
At least through Skype, we can see that you have power, and we are very happy for that.
Yep. Power and heat. It's nice over here.
That's good. Hate to warp all those nice guitar necks in the background. Was that a Four Loco?
Yeah. 12 in the afternoon on a Monday. Why not? No, it's Spindrift sparkling water. It's lemon water.
That's
lemon
precious.
Angry water.
We're showing our age on this episode.
Yeah, you can't rock every day.
Spindrifts and hot tea.
Mhm.
And I think Kevin has a shawl around him.
From what I understand too, I think Kevin's the youngest one here. I thought I would be, but I think Kevin's a little younger.
Yeah,
Kevin
you're 17.
looks young. He is actually 74 years old.
I buy that.
Yeah, he's ageless. He's the eternal one. He may be the youngest, but he's definitely the oldest soul.
Oh yeah, I sleep by like 8 o'clock every night.
Oh yeah,
that's
old
weird,
man
dude.
right there.
Mm.
We were up editing a previous episode
Good
for the
Lord.
Westies out there. That was, 1:32 in the morning,
Yeah, it was pushing 2 o'clock.
which explains my extremely sexy voice right now.
You preach it.
All right, so today, if you guys are still there after our traipse through the elderly, stages that we are in, we are going to be talking about Fallen. And as we've done the past few episodes, we are going through every song off of our debut album, Crescendo of Silence, and kind of breaking them down. And some people find it helpful to actually give the song one listen before we get started, so you kind of got it fresh in your mind. So if you'd like to do that, now's a great time. And hopefully you did. And if you didn't, you're going to be surprised. We are going to be talking about the song that started it all. The very first track that we recorded as a band. So it's kind of a historic moment, isn't it?
It is. It brought a lot of us together. So it started with friends and it ended with more friends.
Oh, well, the jury's still out on that.
Frenemies.
We may be mortal enemies by this time.
That's true. We did lose one today. So that maybe is
Dropping like
actual true
flies.
statement. Yeah.
Who's next?
Tommy said it's gone full circle. It's the perfect time for me to get out. So the demo to this one was originally called "It's a Long Time," and if you've heard the song, that line is there. So that name kind of stayed. But this was written, and I have it all in my notes for posterity. It was written on December 30th, 2019, which the world was a very different place. No pandemics. We all lived life with smiles and halos and rainbows before it all came crashing down.
Yeah, life was so innocent and naive back then. The planet has changed.
It seems so far away, doesn't it? I was just kind of going over the timeline, and everything was different at the end of 2019, compared to what it is today. But, I mean, we've talked about it before in the previous episodes. The one good thing about the lockdown and the pandemic was we got to work, and it created an album because of it. So,
absolutely. That was a good thing that came out of it that we're still enjoying even to this day.
Yes, we are still pretty productive, and we'll say no more on the subject right now.
Shh. Quiet.
Okay. So like a lot of these songs for Crescendo of Silence, Fallen was written in one day. Music and lyrics, and we're going to go out of order. We're going to kind of jump into the lyrics right now because they paint a picture of what was going on. So at the time, Lance and Kevin and I were in the Mad Ones, and it's kind of like a yearly gig where we play in the summers and we don't do too much in the fall. But I hadn't written a lot in a while, and I had just finished completing building a studio in my home, which is a dangerous concept when you really have not written more than 5 songs in the past 5 years. And my wife, much to my chagrin, just kept saying, you better use that because we spent a few cents on this. And
does she regret saying that now? Because I don't.
Well, I think she regrets it for a different reason.
I mean,
because she hasn't seen me since December 30th.
Well, exactly.
2019.
As we've mentioned before, you only live a few blocks away, and our normal loop with my 3 kids and dog is we meander around your street and back around, and I'd say over 50% of the time, the garage is down, the lights are on, and I know what magic's happening behind it. So poor Shannon, she lost her husband to your own dungeon, I guess.
Yes, I have definitely made it worth it, and we haven't made any of those pennies back, and I don't expect we will. But mentally, I'm in a good spot from all the music we've done.
They're intrinsic treasures that you're earning right now.
Yes,
it's a long-term investment. It'll be there after we pass.
It's our eternal legacy. When I'm gone, like 2 or 3 weeks from now, probably.
Whoa!
These songs will outlive me.
And that's when we'll start making money. That's what always happens.
Well, yeah, of course, because that's how the made-for-TV movie will go. So it was funny. I got everything together, got my studio monitors and bought some nice headphones and got my desk and got all the guitars set up. And I sat down, and the first thing that went through my head, besides the pressure of you better take advantage of that studio, is what the hell am I going to write? Because I've never been extremely prolific as a writer. I'm the type of guy who would take a year to work on a song and just try to make every aspect of it perfect. And I sat down, and the first fear that went through me, and it was chilling, was what if I'm just not able to write songs anymore? And for a musician, that's it's terrifying. The idea that we all have a finite amount of music in us, I imagine. And what if I have reached my limit? Like Kevin's words on a podcast. What if, I've hit I've hit the zenith and it's over. The well is dry. And it's funny because, a lot of people listen to Fallen and for whatever reason, they're like, oh, is this about, like alcoholism? I'm like, no, don't worry about the whiskey part. But it opens up another day like the last one, whiskey in my hand. Oh God, I pray that I'll find something new just so I can live again. It's just another way to say, I don't know if I can write a song. And so I was writing very personal, very experiential. I was writing literally what I was feeling at that second, which I don't do too much. I'm, usually more broad strokes and things like that. So then it started with that, and that, opened the deluge of West of House, so to speak, with just that opening verse.
I never knew that about the song. Going back to its title, it's a long time. I just figured it was a dream of yours to have a studio, and it took so damn long. And you finally got the studio, and then boom, here we are. You're writing a song. But
I'm glad you're not one of the others that thought I was just writing about alcoholism.
No, I ignore all those rumors about you. I know they're not true, but
I'll admit that was my first thought when I first heard it too.
It was
wow. Yeah.
I don't mean to joke about it. Alcoholism is obviously a very deadly disease and something to be taken seriously. And I did enjoy the fact, kind of moving ahead of myself, that I've received feedback from this song, some private messages through the band page on Facebook, where some folks who were alcoholics actually tracked with this song, that there was something
really cool
in them, and it brought them to a place, where they could resonate with the lyrics. And we've talked about in earlier episodes that once you write a song, it no longer belongs to you. It goes out and it belongs to the listener. So that's very encouraging to me that, I may be writing about music, but that something else is striking someone in a different way. And I mean, even getting to that chorus, the chorus is very universal with the idea of it's a long way to fall. I mean, there's many ways that you could take that.
Yeah. That's interesting that Bobby thought that too. Never registered on my brain, but I have a small one, I think.
Well, I mean, clearly I wasn't correct, at least in the original artist's interpretation.
True, but Erick's, got those multi-layers going on. So
true, very true.
All layers are good. It's
most definitely.
Where are we? Oh, lyrics. So yeah, let's just kind of keep going there. We go in that second verse, to take my hand, we'll jump in every kind of fire. The burn won't last. It's just another way to feel alive. For me, again, that's kind of just that falling into the passion of creation and what that entails. And I love the fire metaphors are always fun for me. It's probably second to death, but the whole burning and the idea that through burning we are refined. And that's very big, and also music creation too. We refine ourselves through that burning, and for us, it's writing songs for years that suck, and having that criticism come back, and you realize that you're not good at what you do, and you just keep going, and you keep going, and you keep going. But that burn inside you, just pushes you on further, through that creation process.
Yeah, I love both of these verse stanzas. I think the second one is my favorite. I just think of like a young, rejuvenated time when you've got, I mean, for me, I'm thinking like a friend or even a new girlfriend, kind of a romance back then, where take my hand and it's just so exciting. You jump into all these different scenarios and you do crazy things just because you want to spend as much time, every second of every day that you have with each other. Knowing
take my
that,
hand if you want to live.
Exactly. And it won't last, but it's another way to feel alive. I think that just speaks to that youthful spirit, which is funny because it contrasts pretty heavily with the first stanza, not necessarily about being over 21 when you should be drinking whiskey daily, but the fact that, I pray that I'll find something new, meaning like time has passed and there's this like uncertainty ahead just so I can live again. And I think of a lot of people, maybe they go through that midlife crisis or they retire and I remember watching a lot of my parents' friends when they retired. They had no hobbies. They had no life except their career. And it was actually kind of sad and depressing because I've always felt, gosh, I want to retire as soon as possible so I can enjoy all of my hobbies. I have way too many, which causes strife in my relationship with my wife and family because I like to do too much. So it's interesting how those two verses play with each other. But yeah, no, I love both of those verses lyrically. They're pretty well written and they're kind of fun, but cautious for me to just think about, hey, there's a lot of life going on out there and it's exciting, but let's not get too static and asleep, I guess, at the wheel.
No, I mean, I think burnout is a very relatable subject. It's something that everyone feels and goes through. So sometimes you burn out drinking whiskey. Sometimes you burn out making music. It is what it is.
Deep waters. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, good words, Lance and Kev. I mean, that whole idea just about being fallen. I'm not going to say I was purposely vague because when I wrote this, there was no West of House. I had no intention of making a CD. I was just trying to get the juices flowing. And, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's take a listen to a little bit of that demo. And we can kind of hear some of the beginnings of what is to come. So let's go ahead and play that.
Take my hand, we'll jump into every kind of fire. The burn won't last, it's just another way to feel alive. It's a long way to fall. It's a long way to fall. In time, you will see it's our time. We're all falling. In time, you will see it's our time.
So as you can hear, I mean, the blueprint's the same. The foundation is the same, but there's some different things. There's some different vocal harmonies going on. The guitar's a little out of tune because I just grabbed it. And when you start playing on guitar, if you've got a good riff going, put that down first, because you never know when you might lose something. But the whole blueprint is there for the song. That didn't change the entire time. So what happened is after I wrote that was on the 30th. I had been texting with Tommy and we had talked about drums a little, but the first guy to get involved just a couple days later, and I believe my files say it was January 2nd, was our esteemed bass player, Mr. Lance Bletscher.
Well, again, I wasn't your bass player at the time.
You're always my bass player.
Well, that's true. But
we were Mad One still was alive, so you've been my bass player for 20 years.
I'm always there to support
30,
you.
35.
And you said, "Yeah, I'm doing this single, and of course, I'm gonna want to play." Just being with friends, music, and having a few brews is one of my favorite hobbies. Those are not three separate hobbies; they all kind of always coincide together. And Eric, if I didn't tell you then, Happy New Year. If it was the 2nd of January, though we may have hung out 2 days before. I don't remember if that was your initial New Year's Eve party.
It's shocking that you don't remember that.
I don't remember much.
I have a picture of you not remembering it.
Okay, that's the one on the couch. Yeah, that was a good look. My wife was very proud. I was in a happy place, as you could see on that photo, which will not be a album cover or a single cover anytime soon.
You say that now.
That just gave me a great idea.
Yeah, walked right into that one. Yeah, so that was in your garage, your new studio. I remember that, and pre-COVID, of course. And it was it was kind of a fun song. It was mellow, as you guys have heard, and hopefully are enjoying it. But I don't know, Erick, I don't know when you shared that with me, because you said you wrote it on 12:30, so that's only a couple days later. So I don't know how that happened.
Well, I probably sent it to you that night.
That's crazy. So in 2-3 days plus a little hiatus on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, I didn't realize we'd done it that fast, but I was looking at the dates on the files and we got it done really quickly.
I mean, I normally try to be a humble person, but that changes the whole perspective on what I ended up producing. But yeah, a lot of times for me, if you give me too much time, which again, this isn't much, but I eventually start going like soloing style on a bass, which is normally how I warm up. And then I pull back all the layers and like, no, you're a bass player. That's not your role. You need to lay the groundwork down. And so, the intro is basically the verse progression and it's flowing. I don't think I used this term myself much until Tommy said it's a very melodic style of playing bass, which when it's the natural way I play, I don't really think of it that way, but he's right. So yeah, try to just be really flowing, and there's a lot of words obviously in those lyrics that I'm assuming, yeah, right? You sent that demo with the lyrics.
Yep, you had the full thing.
So that kind of shaped the way I wrote this, because if you said no, I didn't have the lyrics, then I got really lucky, because I really wanted to make sure that these words falling, I was trying to emulate with the way I was kind of working on it. So like the chorus is a really good example of this. When you're saying a long way to fall, I wanted to create a falling sensation. So I kind of move up high on the fretboard and then I do some sliding walking lines down to a lower register on the fretboard to provide that semblance to the lyrics of falling, but still, pretty mellow, just kind of moving around with some complementary sounds. But the bridge is where it really took off to a melodic line of almost like a solo, which, there are even some chords in there, so you don't normally hear that much with a bass unless you're like Les Claypool or something. Yeah, that was a fun song, and I just figured it was a fun little single that we would do and chalk it up for a little project with a few buddies. And lo and behold, things kind of picked up steam like they are in Oregon and Wyoming, where the snowball just grows and grows as it rolls down the road.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the dates there, Kevin, you weren't far behind, because my file says on January 12th, you stopped by and added some magic.
Yeah, I think I remember that. I remember the New Year's party, for sure.
More so than I do, I guess.
I remember taking that picture of Lance.
Oh, was that your picture?
That was you, huh?
At least
hilarious.
being in the
I didn't
picture,
know that.
somewhere in the room when that picture was taken. But yeah, we were about to go out for Scott's birthday party, or get together, the three of us. And beforehand, we decided to pregame, drink a couple beers, and I think you were getting ready, and I was like, I can play over this a little bit, and kind of came up with that ascending arpeggio line. It kind of goes over throughout the song,
which you're listening to right now, and how beautiful it is.
It's like, yeah, just something simple. I didn't want to do too much to it, since it was I felt it was pretty lyrically driven, and Lance also with the melodies. I didn't want to override that. So I don't know. It just came, and I was like, this sounds kind of cool. So I just played it over and over and over until we got the final track.
No,
That was
Kevin,
funny.
I was going to say, Kevin, that was what, the verse chorus type progression bridge? I mean, when did that last part come into play? I mean, it wasn't at that point, was it? Or did you do that all in one sitting?
Well, we were doing the verse and the chorus, and like Kevin said originally, he was just like messing around, and then we realized we need to be recording this, and this is working.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because we were we had a deadline. We had to meet Scott, I don't know, 4:30 in the afternoon or something, and it's now 3:45, and we need something for the end. And I don't know how it started, but it's like, do you want to try the solo? And Kevin, you can kind of take it from there.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from, honestly. That was like the fastest solo that we've ever written. I remember you were messing with the tone settings. I was like, oh man, that sounds, because you had those the HS8s, and I was like, I've never heard anything like come out of a computer that sounds this good. And with the Helix presets that you created, and I was like, man. So I just started noodling around, kind of went bluesy, kind of all I know as far as solos go. But yeah, that was it. We played it, I think, 2 or 3 times, and then you were like, stop overplaying it, because I just kept going after the song ended, and I was like, oh crap.
Well, you're pretty humble about that, Kevin, because I swear that solo has been referenced more than anything else on all of our episodes of this podcast, and still is my favorite solo on the whole album. I remember trying to arm wrestle Erick. Like, do we need more of this? It's got to be the beginning, maybe? Is there a middle section? Like, we need to shove it down people's throats. It's that good. And Erick, in his wise old age, says, no, we need to reveal the song. And that is the treasure at the end.
Yes.
Which is funny you say that it was done quicker than anything else, because it's like a mythical unicorn. It just pops up out of nowhere, and before you realize, it's gone.
Let's give it the respect that it's due. Here, with nothing else under it, is Kevin's solo from Fallen. A thing of beauty, a work of art, 30 minutes of blood, sweat, and tears. It's funny. I totally forgot, Kevin, that we recorded the vast majority of the guitars, almost all of them, through Helix, which is it's a modeling system. You put your guitar into your interface, because we don't always have the option to mic and amp and crank it up to 11. And that type of software, it just used to be terrible. The guitar sounded fake. It was a miserable way. It was just fake guitar, and I hated it. Moving to Helix, what Kevin and I have discovered for sure is you can do some amazing things. And so we're going through it, and I'm like, well, let's do this with a Vox amp. No, we're going to put into a Fender amp. Now we're going to use a PRS tone, and now we're going to do this, and we're going to throw Mesa Boogies or a Soldano or a Dr. Z. And just the ability, let's move the mic 6 inches further away. And this is all done on the computer. And so we're going through all these sounds, and there's crazy sounds, and he's still playing the solo, and we get to one, and I did some tweaking. And yeah, Kevin's like you said, the tone of it, we got these big HS8 speakers in the studio, and it was beautiful. And the first few runs, Kevin literally did not stop playing even after the song ended. So we had to dial that back. But what he got in that amount of time, because if you write solos like I do, guitar solos are actually a really long process, and we talked about it. I don't know if it was yesterday's, maybe a different episode. There's kind of 2 schools when writing a guitar solo. There's the play and see what happens. And then there's just working it out phrase by phrase, like the Holy Ghosted, that Pink Floyd solo. Mm-hmm. That was worked out phrase by phrase. But watching Kevin's process for me was really enjoyable. Just seeing, he just puts his head down and his fingers just start creating, and it was beautiful. And when we went out that night, we exported it really fast, and we just played it over and over in the car. And poor Scott, our friend, he was in the back, and he had to listen to that about 6,000 times. And just, Kevin, it's your solo, turn it up. And it's only a 3.5 minute song. But we played it, 30, 40 times?
Must have been the entire ride to the bar.
And the whole time I'm thinking, yes, this is the new culmination of this musical product. It will not get better than this song.
That's funny. And it's a good song.
It is a good song, and it's still good. So this kind of moves us to drums. Originally, I had been talking to Tommy. We had reconnected after a while. Originally, the idea was, this maybe a solo song, but I was going to use the guys from the Mad Ones and our drummer, Scott, who we've mentioned a ton of times. And, as of this recording, he's now moved to Texas and the Mad Ones are no more, which is sad. But a new step for him, and we're excited for him. But he didn't have the ability to record at home. So we moved to Tommy for this. And
I wonder why.
Yeah, it's Tommy, in our talking, we realized that he's got a drum dungeon. And in that drum dungeon, he's got, I don't know, how many mics does he have now?
Oh, jeez.
Over 20.
Bobby,
20.
You would know.
Yeah, no,
22?
I think I got
24?
22 or 24 on the last song that we just did.
24 drum microphones. So
Actually, I think with Fallen, he started with like 18. And through this album, he bought a few more. So yeah,
that's true. We
the low
inspired
mid
him.
20s.
But that's still insane. I mean, Lance sends you one track and my guitar's on one track. And I know Tommy always jokes. He's like, I sent 24 tracks. I'm like, yeah, but it's still one track. It's just drums, Tommy. I mean, I know you're putting them all together, but it's not like when we said we do 24 tracks of guitars. Your
So
track is
funny.
here's your China, and here's your crash, and here's that damn cowbell that Bobby won't turn down. No matter
It's
how much
so
I beg
fun,
him.
though.
It's never that fun.
Maybe we should do
You'd be
6 different
surprised.
tracks, one for each string.
Didn't like no, I mean, it wasn't, they did one for each string, but it reminds me of Megadeth when we're going to go metal a little here. When they recorded Rust in Peace, they got to a point where they were so anal about tuning and stuff that they were punching in singular notes into that. Def Leppard did it too for Hysteria. They'd punch in just a note to make sure it was perfect.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's insane. I'll go one take and be like, yeah, it's pretty good. Bobby will fix it somewhere. So
I think that takes away the musicality of it, kind of.
I agree. The soul.
It does, but I mean, I don't know if you're a Megadeth fan. I'm guessing Bobby probably knows this sound pretty well.
I'm actually, I was more of a Metallica guy than a Megadeth guy, but.
Oh, man. Well, I love them both, but Rust in Peace by Megadeth, that is a seminal thrash metal album. It's amazing. And you would not guess that, they took kind of the soul out of that and, pieced it together almost note by note at some points, but highly recommended for the listeners out there. If you've got some metal bones in you, which those bones exist pretty hard in West of House. We just don't use them too much. And we definitely don't let Tommy play double bass.
Well,
Not
is
yet.
That's true. Yeah. Maybe when I'm asleep at night, you guys can let him do that. But he does have a lot of metal in his bones. And I do remember when he first sent his first pass at this song, I think you'll agree with me, Eric. He said, I played every drum I own except the second snare. And I'm like, second snare? And he sent this picture. Most of us know he's got his little GoPro above. And it's Neil Peart to a T.
What was that name again?
Ian Perth? I forget.
What
his name.
Perth? What's
Yeah.
a Perth?
Perth?
Australia?
Yeah, that's an
That's
Australian.
a good town. Adelaide,
town.
Australia.
Peart with a T.
Pert.
Rest in peace.
Peart.
Peart.
Peart?
Mm-hmm.
Port.
Okay.
Pure.
We'll just pass
It's
it all
got
this.
4 syllables. Pure. Well, I know it's not Perth. It's got an ear sound because that's what Mike Portnoy taught me.
Okay.
That Mike Portnoy has a fun story where he was saying his name wrong for years, and then finally Neil corrected him himself and says you have to make sure you emphasize the ear sound.
Peart.
There's no H.
Well, the
Now you
point
just-
in this
every
damn
Rush
story.
fan, every Rush fan has turned off the podcast now.
That's too bad.
Surprisingly, they're all men, but they've turned it off.
Shocking. Anyway, I was just impressed the fact that he had all of these drums and on a song like this, which is not that complex, he found a way to shove every drum and cymbal he owned except his second snare that he did have set up. It was there for him to hit. I don't know why he would have missed it.
Nothing says mid-tempo song like play every drum you own. What's the BPM on this?
Oh,
Bobby, do you know?
Gee, I didn't write it down. I think it's in like the 80s, maybe.
Yeah, it's 80-ish.
Yeah, 86, I think.
Play all the drums. You know, we're gonna throw Tommy a bone. I know Tommy wishes he were going to be here, so we're going to shoot to Tommy via satellite later in the episode, and we will edit this in. We're not going to fake it for you Westies, but he does have some things to say about the drums. So here are Tommy's thoughts right now.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? This is Tommy coming in via satellite from the future. And hang on, I gotta adjust something here. Hold on. All right, it should be better. How's that? Can you guys hear me now? All right. So, thanks for giving me time to jump in here via satellite from the future. The first thing I need to do is scold Lance for not speaking properly of the professor on the drum kit for Rush, Neil Peart. I don't know where you got what you got, but I think I need to punch you in the nose the next time I see you. I'm not sure. I'm still trying to decide that. But anyhow, let me get to what I wanted to talk about. So yeah, Eric came to me with this project idea sometime at the end of, what was it, 2019, early part of 2020. And it was a good time for me because I had just taken the previous 12 or 13 months off of drumming, didn't touch a stick for over a year. And I was kind of starting to get the itch to start playing again. And Erick's always been one of my best friends in the business. He always writes really great things. I really enjoy his vocal sound. His voice is amazing to me. So I was pretty excited to get a chance to play again. So he sent me the info, I mean, the music and a scratch track. And I really liked it. He had some good stuff in there for me to work with. And so since I thought this was going to be a one-off, like Lance, I maybe, we're not sure, but maybe overplayed on this one just a hair. And yes, I did play all 8 of my toms in this song. And it's kind of slow, and did I need to? No, but I thought this was going to be a one-off, and had I known it was going to be part of a bigger project, I might have played it differently, but I'm not promising anything because I don't want Eric to think that I'm okay playing less, because even though less is more, really less is always less. Isn't that right? But the other thing about this song is maybe the weekend before I tracked the drum part, Neil Peart's death was announced. And so that was really heavy on me while I was tracking this stuff. So there may be some Neil inspired things on here, and I will let y'all listen to it and try to find those. But it was just really a kind of an emotional thing for me just to even play, because I hadn't played in over a year for personal reasons. And then for practically the first thing I played after a year was this song, recording with a good friend of 20 years with fresh news of who I would say is easily the most influential drummer in my life, and his passing from a 3-year battle with brain cancer that also was news. Neil was a notoriously private man, and that info wasn't really even let out to the public. Close people knew, of course, but the public didn't. So it was kind of a shock just to find out that whole thing. But I really enjoyed tracking this. I met up with Erick and Kevin at NAMM right afterwards, and we talked about it and joked about it. How we just threw a song together like that, and it was coming together pretty well. And since I am coming to y'all from the future, I did want to point out a little bit about Kevin's guitar solo. And I don't know if that was completely mentioned, but that came in late, like way after the song, or at least my parts were done. So when I was listening to the song a million times while I tracked it, and then a million more after I tracked it, that wasn't there, that ending guitar solo. And then all of a sudden it was there, and it was so good and so perfect and just so soulful. I really liked it. Now, if you've heard in other episodes, when there are extra parts added to songs way after I'm done, I don't necessarily like them initially. And that was the case for Yesterday's. The intro part of Yesterday, there's some keyboard stuff in there that wasn't there initially. And at first I didn't like it. I like it now. So I guess I don't like change much when I'm used to hearing something. But I did in this case. Kevin's solo was amazing. So I'm really happy about that. I really enjoyed Lance's bass playing. I hadn't played with Lance for a really long time, and I don't mean to insult Lance here, but he was way better than I thought. Lance is a really, really good bass player, and I was really surprised with the part he came up with, and it was just so perfect. And I really like listening to it, and the chords that he did in that bridge part, just amazing. So good on you, Lance. Really cool. Of course, Erick's vocal performance was amazing, and maybe what is the most exciting about this particular song was getting to work with Bobby Phillipps. I had worked with him one time on a project that I actually didn't even know Bobby at the time. I recorded some drums for a project, and that got given to Bobby. And so when I heard the final, it was so amazing. It was a Styx cover song that we did, and my drums had never sounded as good. And so when we were trying to find people to mix this song, which at the time we thought it was just going to be a song, not an entire album, I immediately thought of Bobby, and I'm glad that everything worked out the way it did. Bobby is the consummate professional. He's really, really easy to work with when we have issues, or when I have issues with my drum part. He fixes them. He makes me sound way better than I really am. And it's been a blast. This song started quite a journey for this band so far, with a full CD, and, well, at the time of everybody else, the Pinecone EP wasn't out. At the time of right now, as I'm giving my part to y'all, the Pinecone EP is out. So we just have a lot of music in the pipeline, and I'm really excited to see what's going on. And West of House fans, I would really like it if you would email Erick and tell him you want to hear more double bass drum, because I can play it now. So I want to play it, but I don't get to play it because it's too metal, apparently. But I don't think so. Okay, so, that's all I have, and I think we're going to lose our satellite feed here anyway, so I need to go. I'm surely forgetting something, but I'm going to hand y'all back before we drop our satellite feed, and thank y'all for listening, and I will talk to you later.
So thank you, Tommy, for joining us from the future, and for, correcting us on all our Rush faux pas. Moving on, but he did a great job, and I was really, really happy. And I think it was at that moment that we all kind of realized, well, what are we going to do with this song? Because while, our musical talents, are halfway decent, our mixing and mastering talents are not. I'm a beginner. I'm probably an intermediate now after this album. But at Ableton and recording things and putting them together, they don't always match what's in my head and how I want them to sound. And frankly, you can't be a master of all trades, because to do that, you have to water down other things. And there's too many damn books to read. And I just did not have the time to learn how to do all that.
They say you should never mix or master your own music anyway. That's
what they say. Would you agree with that, Bobby?
No, I'm completely guilty of that.
You're weird, though. You're like...
Well, it was totally out of necessity. When I started, as a sidebar, when I was recording my own music back when I was a teenager, I was like, well, I got to learn how to make this sound good. And over the last 15 years, it's just been something I've honed and now applying to other people's music over the last maybe 4 or 5 years. So,
well, we're glad you did.
Yeah.
And as you'll see, it worked out well for us, but we didn't know about Bobby at this time. Tommy was keeping him locked in his back pocket. This
dungeon. In the dungeon.
Yeah, Bobby was trapped like Harry Potter under the stairs.
Funny down there too.
It smells like potatoes and failure. It's
potatoes.
But
failure.
But we didn't know where to go because in the day, I recorded in studios, and there were guys connected to the studios, and they would do that for you, and they'd send it back, and it was a long process. So I found this thing called Fiverr online. And if you don't know what Fiverr is, it's basically freelancers on a website. And you can hit up different guys, and it's pretty affordable. We use it for artwork sometimes if there's something we just can't do ourselves. But for this, I found dudes that mix and master music. And so I'm like, well, they're offering free samples, which is good. So it's like the Baskin Robbins of mixing. So let's send a few out there. And we hit up 3 guys on Fiverr. And ironically, none of them were in the country. So we had a guy in Italy, a guy in the UK, and a guy in Brazil. And for fun, let's play a little bit of what we got.
Wow, this will be fun.
From our international fall-in mixes. These have never seen the light of day. They will not. These are not the final product. These were samples that were given back, but let's give a listen. So this is Italy.
Another day, like the last one. Whiskey in my hand. Oh God, I pray that I'll find something new, just so I can live again. It's a long way to fall.
So, Italy. Hey, good job, Italy. And way better than what we've done. So we get the first sample back and we're like, oh, amazing, because it's better than we can do.
And it was international, which I thought we all thought was cool. Yeah, it's
international. So, we're cool.
Absolutely.
Our Italian mixer, did this. So then we get our sample back from the UK, and here's a sample of that.
Another day, like the last one. Whiskey in my hand. Oh God, I pray that I'll find something new, just so I can live again. It's a long way to fall.
So you can hear that one. It's way different from Italy. There's a lot more reverb on it. There's kind of a different feel. And at this point, just from a musician standpoint, it's interesting to me because you're kind of getting the feel of what music sounds like to these guys in their heads in the part of the world that they're in. And at this point, I like the UK. We all like the UK better than Italy's version, and the UK was on top.
It was amazing. I remember, Eric, when we would get these where you've heard this song. It was our first one, and you get something back. And like you mentioned, it was mind-blowing to go, oh my gosh, that was cool how they did this, they did that. And I think, like you said, it really puts on your heart, like, this is not my bag. I'm so glad somebody else could do this, because they can make things come to life, which is pretty fun to hear that you created this, but my God, has it transformed, which is a fun process to go through.
It's really neat. And, one of the things that I actually liked about the UK and something that Bobby does as well is, you heard in the sample, the UK guy, he brought the bass up where Italy was kind of buried and we lost that melodic feel. In the UK one, he brought the bass up and he separated the vocals kind of from the muddy mix too. So that was cool. It was really nice to see the bass highlighted because that melodic playing is kind of a hallmark of what, would become the West of House style. So, and then we got Brazil. So let's go to South America and listen to a little bit of the Brazil sample of Fall.
Like the last one, whiskey in my hand. Oh God, I pray that I'll find something new just so I can live again. It's a long way to fall.
So you see there, now Brazil kind of took some stuff from Italy and some stuff from UK. The bass is still pronounced, but it's not as reverby. And the song is a little more complete. So we were sending these along in our text messages and having a thread, and it didn't take too much talking about it, but we decided, Brazil was the best of the three.
Yeah, definitely. It was. It just seemed to complement better. Everything sounded cleaner and crisper. And I think we said, let's do it. Let's have them go. Because it was like 30 seconds or so they're sharing with us?
Yeah, just 30-second samples. I mean, a little mastering, a little mixing, not, to what their full extent is. But from those three, Brazil was the best. So we agreed to do Brazil. And then, of course, after we agree to it, then Tommy goes, I know some guys. So it's like, well, maybe you could have told us, before we agreed with this other guy. So now that's going to cost us $100 because we committed to it. But he said he knew two guys, and I don't remember the other guy's name, and we got 2 samples back.
I don't even remember the other one.
The other one, we're not playing that one.
No, I don't.
No, it was a no, and we'll just move on and pretend that one didn't happen. So I was still very content with Brazil at that point. It's like, America has failed me yet again.
Oh, wow.
Foreshadowing West of House lyrics. And then we get, one back from who Lance affectionately labeled Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, baby.
And we get this one from Bobby, and he had just thrown something together, with some of his magic, and we have that sample in the archives, and it's different from what turned out. But let's play a little bit of that sample right now.
It's titled "Shake and Bake," right?
Shake and Bake. Do you remember that sample, Bobby?
Vaguely, yes, vaguely. It was a year ago, man. It was a different lifetime.
It was a while.
Another day, like the last one. Whiskey in my hand. Oh God, I pray that I'll find something new just so I can live again. It's a long way to fall.
So you can hear there, I mean, already the foundation of what's created is the drums. The drums on Bobby's sample sound far superior to anything. The bass is isolated. He had only what I can refer to as a gentleness with the vocals, where they came across a different way. They weren't as harsh. They were, massaged and treated like the diva that vocals can be, which I appreciated. and the guitars are panned appropriately. They're placed in their positions to where every piece adds to the song. And so we realized very quickly, that Bobby had a certain mastery of that our friends in the other countries, no disrespect to them, didn't have. So Bobby, why don't we throw to you and tell us kind of some of your initial thoughts when you were given the song. Tell us the version from your side.
Yeah, so I mentioned some of this in the Turn of Phrase episode we did a few weeks ago, so I'll just kind of brush over that. Tommy had come to me with, I guess you could call it the demo. It wasn't the electric guitar vocal demo, but just kind of a rough mix, I guess. And he sent that to me asking if I'd be interested in trying out for a mix. And I heard the song and I really dug it. It was really melodic in pretty much every aspect. Kind of a chill song, and I dug it. And I was kind of eager to get my hands on it because I could hear what I wanted it to sound like in my head, filtered through my tastes. And so I remember, to back up just a bit, I had met Tommy in a musicians group, and I had mixed a cover song of a Styx song that they did. And Tommy, I remember, would not shut up about how good he thought I made his drums sound. And I was flattered, absolutely.
Nice to see things have changed.
Yeah.
And wait, I also heard you just said, shut up, Tommy, but it was kind of woven in the fabric of your sentence.
Do you want to edit that together? Just cobble that?
No, it was just so natural and organic. Carry on, Bobby. The floor is yours.
So in fact, to the point where he told me he made the solo drum track his ringtone for a while there on his cell phone from that cover song. So fast forward a few years, he sends me the Fallen demo, and he sends me the tracks, and I get it together. And I remember I had just gotten this piece of software called SonarWorks, which is a room calibration software. It's supposed to take the room you're in. And at the time, I was in a very small 9-foot by 11-foot room, and I had some bass issues. I had just gotten this software and calibrated the room, and I could actually hear the bass. So if you hear in the original demo, the overall low end, or excuse me, not the demo, but the first mix I sent, the overall low end of that was kind of overpowering. And we tamed that in a few revisions once I got the green light to keep mixing and do some revisions. But yeah, I thought it was a cool song, and it was fun to mix. I loved the guitar work. I loved the vocals. For any engineers aspiring or otherwise, the secret to the vocals is this plugin called the Maag EQ, MAAG. It's got this air band up at 40,000 hertz that just lifts everything. That is on every vocal track of Erick's in the entire Crescendo of Silence album.
It's my vocal Botox.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you call goo?
No, that's not the goo. The goo is all
came
the
later.
Yeah, the goo is all the reverb and effects, which didn't come until about halfway through the album.
All right.
Well, we have a dynamic relationship with mixing my vocals, and Bobby discovers new things and takes them to new levels. So
it's kind of a mad science lab in here sometimes.
Well, I wanted to go.
Wait till they hear the solo album.
I wanted to go back to that kind of dichotomy where we had Brazil, like you said, we had already kind of committed, and then Bobby's mix came in, and they were both very good, but obviously it was Tommy's friend, and we had mentioned that in our last episode in Turn of Phrase, but I think what we all also could tell, and I don't know how because we're novices with mixing and stuff, but it was obvious to me, it was clear to I think all of us that Bobby had this higher ceiling. And even on a song like Fallen, where there's not a lot of crazy stuff going on, you could tell that there was care taken, but yet there was this whole level of quality or professionalism that we knew we could tap into if we wanted to do some more pieces. So I remember having that conversation that they were both good, but Bobby's ceiling seems to be way higher, and the quality of his equipment or whatever, from Tommy's perspective, probably. It was kind of an easy decision at that point to service both of them. And the final product kind of spoke truth to our thought. It was way better, the final piece, than what Brazil was. Brazil didn't change much, if I remember right. It was like a couple tweaks. Bobby took it to a whole new level.
Brazil took what was there, and they, put some makeup on it and made it good. It was good. Bobby, I felt, and this is musician speak, and I'm probably diving too deep into it. Bobby, I felt, cared about the song, and he cared about the song enough to mature it into what it could be. And I think, where Brazil was a business transaction, which is fine. There's nothing there, but I felt like Bobby, personally got into the song, and, from listening to you, Bobby, some of the things you're saying, you couldn't wait to get your hands on it. you could hear that. And that's what I really appreciated. These creations of ours, they obviously mean a lot to us. And to have someone come alongside, and we couldn't know this because this was just Tommy's friend. And Tommy's a weird dude. You know, I don't know some of his friends. I know he hung out with a pirate a lot in the 80s and 90s. And, you know, I don't know who this guy is. And he's in Utah. And then here's a dude from Wyoming. So, you know, first I'm picturing someone next to a dead buffalo with a musket. And, you
Which
know,
would be
I mean,
cool.
I mean,
that's my next door neighbor.
The fun part of it is, I mean, through all this, I think I told Tommy, I said, hey, tell Bobby that if it's good, you know, we'll have a few more songs for you. And Tommy was like, hey, we'll have like 4 or 5 more songs for you. So everyone's happy. Who knew it was going to be like 20, you know, and counting. And it's still going. But then, you know, Bobby and I didn't contact personally on Fallen, but then we did did I come in on yesterday's where we started
I think
actually
you did.
talking?
Yeah. I think halfway through yesterday's, I sent off the first mix, and I don't remember who initiated the group chat, but we started a group chat, really just to cut out the middleman. Cause I was getting, for Fallen, I would send it to Tommy.
You mean cut out the drummer?
Sure. So we could shut up the drummer. You can edit that out. So
No.
for Fallen, I was sending them through Tommy and getting notes from you, Erick, back through Tommy. So it was, hey, Tommy, pass this on to the boss. And then Tommy would go, okay, the boss says this. So I'm wondering if it was just me getting sick of just going through another person. No, with no disrespect to Tommy, he was communicating things greatly. Like it was super easy, but it just made more sense to go straight to the source.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, I had so many things. Then I text Tommy, he texts you, and one of us, regardless, you know, it was important for us to hook up. And then, you know, we started this really fun and productive working relationship together. And then, you know, becoming friends through the process too. Mm-hmm. Just from, you know, our personalities are very similar. We have some of the same political leanings or apolitical leanings for those out there. And so, you know, the band got a friend out of it as well. And then we have this guy who's amazingly talented and is our de facto 6th member of West of House for sure. So now we've got, you know, this wonderful West of House family from Tommy's friend that he knew, which is just, it's a fun, heartwarming story for me that's what this turned into.
Ricky Bobby, who rides Buffalo. Love it.
So after the back and forth, we get a finalized song from Bobby, and we're all happy. And what the hell, you know, we had a band name at this time. This was around late February, so we've decided to actually call this thing real to make our relationship serious. And on March 13th, 2020, we release the song "Fallen," our debut single, and it did pretty well. So I remember that first weekend, we did some promotion. We did some Fiverr promotion, you know, getting the song on playlists and stuff. And lo and behold, this song right now is at over 35,000 streams. That's just on Spotify. And for us, I think it was in the 20,000s after that first weekend. You know, our promotion did pretty well. But at this point, you know, our minds are kind of blown because I remember sending you guys screenshots of the numbers that kept going up, and we're like, what is happening? Who wants to listen to our music?
That was cool.
So it did well. It had good promotion. It was a fun time and really kind of thrust us into this belief that, you know, we're not going to be rock stars. We're not going to be super rich. We're not going to be playing all over the place, but it gave us enough self-esteem to say, we've got music worth putting out there. So we're going to do that, you know, because we all have other careers. We can do it for us. We don't have to do it for a record label anymore. I did that in the 90s. I hope to never do that again. Because you're creating for other people. And this was about us. So having our baby go out there and do so well, Tommy created a lyric video, which was fun for it. We pushed this out there, and then we forgot about the song because we had an album to record. Which brings us to August. And Lance and Kevin, now here's where we went into top secret territory. Because I don't think, Bobby, these guys knew what was going on with Fallen.
You told me not to say a word, and I wasn't in contact with either of them, and I didn't say anything to Tommy either. So this was you and me, and special secret agent man that you hired.
As this is very surreptitious. So at this point, all the songs are done for Crescendo of Silence, and we kind of hit our stride with Fallen, and then Voyeuristic, and then moving on to Shadows, and now you've got this West of House sound. And I'm talking to Bobby, and we realize Fallen doesn't sound like everything else on Crescendo of Silence. You know, we didn't have the layers of guitars that we put in like on Yesterday's. We didn't have vocals that were double or triple tracked like on some of the other songs. And it's very sparse. It's not bad. It's still a good song, but now it's different because we were programming. I remember Lance and I were talking about the song order. Side 2, we got Holy Ghosted. We've got Turn of Phrase. And then Fallen comes in, and it works there, but it's different, right, Lance?
Yeah, just I think tonalities, sonically, I don't know. Bobby has probably real words to describe that, but yeah, it just didn't fit. It was like a different size playing card in a deck where everything else, is the same.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and the programming, there was no other place that we could put Fallen. It's mid-tempo. It's not really going to work on side A, so it really was stuck in that 8 position. So at this point, Dave was in the band. Dave was in the band officially. So I turned it over to him just to add some extra guitars, to try to get some of that sonic feel, to feel like the rest of the songs on the album. And you're hearing those overlays right now. And it really worked well. And we're learning at this point how well Kevin's and Dave's guitars work well together, that they're very complementary. And this is a wonderful example on Fallen, how Dave adds stuff. Now, this is months after the fact, and it doesn't step on any of Kevin's toes. And I think we took my guitar and we dropped it even lower than that because I've just got that driving. I don't know what they are. They're like 8th notes or something. It's no big deal. It's a throwaway part. So Dave does that, and then I redid the vocals. I redid the vocals the second time. I double-tracked them. We threw in some BGVs. Bobby had some suggestions for some high harmonies he wanted to hear. We threw that in, which turned out to be really cool. And so we've got now a completely different song. And I remember I sent it to the guys and they didn't notice.
Are you serious? I didn't know about this.
I forgot Lance, you may have been the first one to notice something was different. Tommy had no clue. Tommy's like, yeah, this is Fallen.
Yeah. I will admit, if I didn't respond to it, it was because I didn't listen to it for a day or two, maybe. But when I finally did, it was amazing because you had mentioned something like, oh, hey, we kind of tooled around a little bit. And when I listened to it, to me, it was completely different. And the guitars came to life, the vocals, it just popped. And it was, yes, like this actually has come to life the way I remember it, even though it was different. Because when it was new, it was shiny and precious and amazing. And then it kind of collected dust, like you said before. It kind of sat there till August. Our sound was kind of recognized in Yesterday's, and we just kept refining things. And so to hear that final version that you just kind of secretly put out there with really very little word, as you normally do, it was probably a text with a little, hey, we did some stuff to Fallen. And it's just sitting there like this little drive tab to push. So I was probably busy at work and I didn't, stroke the ego right away. But yeah, it now has come back to the way I remember it when we first listened to it.
Okay, so we have this version. We did a promo video for it. The clip from Fallen is on that, and then I don't know if Lance remembers this or not. Bobby will. I still didn't like the lead vocal, so a couple days before, I did it again. I scratched it all and sent Bobby a complete. First we were just going to fix a few words, but I'm like, screw it, and I completely did a different vocal take on this. So vocal track number 2 never really saw the light of day other than 30 seconds on a promo video. But then I sent it to Bobby probably 2 days before we uploaded.
It really was. It was kind of a last minute thing. And if this would have been in August, then Wyoming was out of lockdown. I was back to work full time. So I was trying to, meet your deadline while also fitting in a full-time job and my own gigs as well. But yeah, you sent me the first redo of the vocal plus all of Dave's parts, backing harmonies and his guitars. And then, yeah, like a couple days after I we signed off on it, then it was like, no, I'm not happy with it. You sent me another vocal, and I just kind of had to fold that in. And thankfully, it's a pretty easy process to just drop your vocal in and then just make any on the fly adjustments. You know, maybe if this part's a little bit louder than it was in the other take. And yeah, so it wasn't too much of a hassle. It was just more of another one. Really? Okay. I think it sounds fine, man, but it's your voice. So
Singers were a finicky lot.
Eric, did that coincide at all with getting a new microphone, a vocal mic?
No, you're referring to the CAD mic that I used on most of it. I got that after Voyeuristic.
Okay.
So the first 3 songs are, they're with that Audio Technica, and then that started having issues, which popped up again when I lent it to you to use for the podcast. And then I moved to a CAD mic, the GXL 3000 for all the techies out there, which really, I mean, that's the rest of the lead vocal work on the album. It's not an expensive mic, but Bobby turned me on to this. And the nuances you get from this thing, whether I'm singing soft stuff or whether I'm doing rocking, just sounds great. It's a total workhorse.
And
now.
it's an easy.
I remember how excited you were.
It's an easy mic to mix on my end too, because I've got the earlier version of it or a different version of it, the 2200, and I love working with that thing. And now you've upgraded again.
I have upgraded, to the Shure, the SM7B. That's strictly for podcasting right now, but I know it will it'll make its way into other things, especially for some of the louder in your face screamy things that may be coming related to lasers, but we won't talk about that. Totally pay no attention to the man behind the microphone right now. I like how we drop these hints that no one knows what the hell we're talking about, but maybe a year from now they'll be like, oh, that's what he meant.
The Westies, they'll go back in the archives.
The Westies know they're good treasure hunters. So yeah, so now we got a new song, pretty much, and we upload it with the album, and it fit. That was the great thing about Fallen is with the stuff Dave added, and then what Bobby did to that after 10 other songs of working with us. Now we've got it's filled with goo and all the other stuff. Now Fallen works, and when it comes after turn of phrase, it doesn't sound like it shouldn't be there. It sounds like a perfect part of the combination.
And to touch on that too, as far as it sounding different, after we mixed the single, and then we started moving on to other songs, Voyeuristic and Yesterdays and all that, and working our way through the other 9 songs on the album. When we came back to that, as we were finalizing everything for the album, getting it sequenced and making some last, final tweaks and whatnot, song by song, I had to dive back in there when you sent me the extra tracks with Dave. And before I even loaded his tracks and your other vocal take in, I had the same reaction where I'd been working with the rest of your guys' songs. We'd been building up the West House sound. And I come back to the first song, Fallen, and it does not sound like a West House song. And before we hopped on recording today, I went and listened to the single that you put out back in last March, and then the version that ended up on the album. And in headphones, the width is different. The sort of ambiance of the track with the echoes and reverbs is different. It sounds now much more like a West House song.
Yeah, it's night and day. Just to see how far we come, it's a perfect bookend for the crescendo of silence experience. To listen to that original single version and then to listen to the album version.
Well said.
So,
I see what you did right there.
Yeah, see? Like that? So with no further ado, let's play the album version of Fallen. So here you go.
It's It's a long way to fall. Take my hand, we'll jump into every kind of fire. The burn won't last. It's just another way to feel alive. It's a long way to fall. It's a long way to fall. In time, you will see it's our time. We're all falling. In time, you will see it's our time. We're all falling. In time, you will see it's our time. We're all falling. In time, you will see it's our time. We're all falling. It's a long way to fall. It's a long way to fall. It's a long way to fall. It's a long way to
So as I say, after every time we play a song, I still like it. It's this one especially. I mean, I will be honest, this is not my favorite song off Crescendo of Silence. But this is like, that first guitar you get when you're a kid. There's just
Nostalgia.
something special about this tune. And it's still good. It's strong lyrically. It's got a good message. Glad we did it. We talked a lot about, the single version. If you want to hear the single version of this, it's on Spotify. Just go to Spotify and in the little discography, it's in Apple Music too. You'll see it's got a different album art. It's like a little dude walking through a fiery door, which turned out really cool.
Yes, it did.
And so you can listen to that and you can kind of A/B the single version and the album version. Do it, 20, 30, 400 times because, that's 0.0003 cents for us.
After you follow the YouTube channel, which this song is also on YouTube.
Yes, the lyric video is the single version as well.
Yeah. We even
Yeah,
had a
so-
discussion about that once you recreated it, or it was forged in the fires and it was reborn. Another Lord of the Rings there quote. But we had that discussion. Should we change it for the YouTube thing? And it was like, no, it'll reset the number, but it's not what it was. And it's okay to have a different version, which is the right decision.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what it was born as, and that's, how it should stay. That maturity of the song should be out there for people to listen to. And who knows, maybe someone else will come along and be like, I like the old version better. And then message boards will fight about it in the future when we're half cyborg. And these are the things that keep me up. Now, there's also a piano version of this song that I did.
What?
Which, yes, there is, which is interesting because a couple days ago on Friday, February 19th, 2021, we released an EP called the Pinecone EP. If you are a longtime listener of the podcast, you'll kind of know the love affair that Tommy has with Pinecones and where that came from. We threw him the bone, so to speak, and just allowed it because it's an EP. But on that EP is the piano version of Fallen that I did. Just something different, to kind of show how that song works in different ways. We've also got demos from 2015 of Moving Shadows and Voyeuristic Symphony. We have a cover of a protest song we did for a school they were threatening to close here in Orange County, California, called Killer for Protest Song, is on that EP. And also the lead single from that, which is called Irish Goodbye.
Irish Goodbye had a lot of participation in it.
There was. It was a fun song. So we farmed out the backing vocals to Westies. We put up some posts on social media and ended up with, how many backing tracks did we get on that one, Bobby?
Oh my gosh, 40 something. I'd have to. I might be overstating.
40 something backing tracks. Just insane. We had a great response. And it's the end of the song has got kind of this Irish bar feel. And I wanted something with people like singing along to one of our songs. And the Westies came through. Absolutely came through. And let's play, should we play a little clip of that?
Let's.
Should we do that, Lance? Let's play a little clip. This is near the end of the song when the crowd comes in for Irish Goodbye.
And if you listen carefully, I think you could hear Bobby's voice as well.
Came so far and we stayed so long that we lost track of why we had come at all. So maybe it's time, and maybe we might, maybe we try for an Irish goodbye. We came so far and we stayed
So there you have it. Bobby was there. Two of my kids were on there. Even Tommy is singing backup, and his tracks are great. One of the yeahs, near the end of the song, we didn't play that, but he does a little yeah at the end, and you can totally tell it's Tommy.
And to correct an earlier point, I just pulled up the file, the folder. 30 tracks were submitted, including Tommy's, and no, that does not include your girls. 30 tracks were submitted, and then I think I added 2 or 3 myself. I think all but 1 or 2 of those submitted tracks made it.
That's fantastic. It was a lot of fun. You did a great job on that one, as always, man. Bobby. But it's a cool song. We had that song. It was called Dronus Maximus was the working title, and it was a crescendo of silent song. But it just wasn't coming together like we wanted to. So we decided to do this little EP with a B-side and this other cover song and some demos, just kind of to throw some stuff out there that we didn't want to die, especially Irish Goodbye, and give you guys a little something extra before hopefully you see some new music later this year. We don't know what will happen. Maybe not. Who knows?
We know what we want to happen.
Sometimes we don't always get what we want.
It's true.
As the Rolling Stones once said.
There is a good song there.
But give it a listen. We're pretty proud of the little Pinecone EP. There's some alliteration there for you. So give it a listen. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, everywhere you listen to West of House. Go ahead and enjoy Irish Goodbye and the piano version of Fallen, and let us know what you think. Now, next episode, we've got a banger, don't we? What's coming up next, Lance?
Yeah, we've got our namesake to our podcast, Echoes Down the Road, which is our second to last song on our album, Crescendo of Silence, which is one of my favorites. I love listening to it. It's a good car ride home or to work. Not only lyrically, but just the way you sing it, Eric. It's one of my favorites, and it's a special song to tuck in the B-side of an album, because this is one of those songs that should be on the A side of an album, but we just had so many quality songs in this first album of ours. And so Echoes Down the Road will be our following episode yet to come.
I foresee some deep conversations when we tear those lyrics apart.
Pretty heavy stuff.
Well, gentlemen, that was That was exciting. Let's do some housekeeping. As we've talked about before, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, anywhere you listen to streaming music. You can find West of House. You can listen to our podcast on Podbean. They're hosting it right now. Also on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Deezer, everywhere you can find podcasts. We ask that you please subscribe and follow. That lets us know who's listening out there, and well, it's fun to see. And these episodes are being streamed and downloaded, which is really exciting. Probably even more so now that Bobby has joined us for a couple.
Whoop, whoop.
I mean, his fan club alone has to be in the tens.
Hi, Mom.
So, so that's going well. Come visit us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Handle is West of House Band, and you can find us on YouTube, where we would encourage you to please subscribe. So once again, we can get that nice, wonderful, short URL. But gentlemen, it has been a pleasure. Bobby, thanks for joining us again for this.
Thanks for having me, man. It's been fun. It was good to meet Kevin too.
I think we're going to have you back for Voyeuristic.
I'll definitely be back for Voyeuristic. I have some things to say about that.
How many tracks were on that one?
2,764. No, I think we were in the 80s or 90s, but we'll get there when we get there.
And we're going to overlay every single one.
Just stack them up
in a special 4-hour podcast. But this has been a wonderful time. We want to thank you guys for listening out there. As always, we are West of House, and we are just honored to serve you with our art. So go forth, have a wonderful day, and we will see you next episode.
Goodbye, everybody.
Take care.
Hey,
So
just
we
as a
got-
5-minute
Go ahead.
warning for Kevin, we only have 5 minutes left with him if there's anything else.
Yeah,
wanted to
Kevin, you
touch.
can bail. So, I mean, you've contributed more than I could ever hope for.
All right.
So jump in real soon. You got something to say. Or you gonna say something?
Testicles.
Yes. What are those called, Bobby? Because
E-
Rocky
Easter
Mountain
egg one.
oysters are
Rocky Mountain Oysters.
cow, I think.
No, those are,
But-
I'm pretty sure those are buffalo.
Buffalo balls
Buffalo
or
balls.
Rocky Mountain
Yep,
oysters.
bison balls.
All right.
Gross.
I just
Gross.
learned something
Just
today.
tied it all
All
together.
right, moving on. I don't want to spend my morning talking about balls.